so go from the planning commission. And so now we're here in front of you today. I'll also just add that, we're experiencing, very strong demand for apartments, with Strata 1 and now Strata 2 coming online. And, and it's absolutely essential, as we all know, that, there's got to be a critical mass of people living downtown to be able to support and create really the environment that we want to support. I think we're starting to see some activity in the neighborhoods where there's some reinvestment in the neighborhoods around the downtown, and that's real, and we're seeing that. But we clearly need more apartments, people living here in the downtown to support the restaurants and the arts organizations and the retail and so forth. And the other thing is that the employers we're talking to that are interested, that have businesses downtown or are moving businesses downtown, the supply of apartments is important to them, because one of the big reasons they're attracted to the downtown is because of the environment. To them to be able to retain and attract young, educated workers, particularly having the live-work option is really an important piece of their thinking in terms of the decision making they're making. In terms of the Tamara, do you want to add anything? Or? Go ahead. You're good. So Strata at Symphony, as we're referring to, is literally right next door here at 6th and Linden Street in an existing surface lot. This image is along the Arts Walk, which to the right will be Symphony Hall, on the left will be the new building. This building is about the same size as Strata 2. It's a little bit bigger, but instead of having retail on the first floor, you'll have parking, and you'll have an underground level of parking. You can see the one thing we really like about this project is that, with Strata 1, Strata 2, and then Strata at Symphony, the residential is clustered all along this Arts Walk. And we think that, that will really create, a critical mass to support retail and create really a residential community. And taking advantage of the arts, institutions in the arts park is really a natural thing in terms of quality of life, and we feel very good about that. We're also getting ready to break ground. We're just going through some traffic permits, temporary traffic planning permits, and we're going to start demolition work on Monday or Tuesday up the street at 6th and Hamilton. So there'll be a lot of activity, a lot of concentration of both new jobs and new residences right here in this area. And I think it's really important when you look at the map that the development is kind of clustered, because I think it just helps create the localized scale to be successful. And again, you can see how, when we talk about what we've been doing here from day one, is thinking about how we create a place in that pedestrian-friendly environment, having the residential, along the Arts Walk extension in the Arts Park, really, we believe will, really kind of, plays right into that placemaking that we've been talking about from the beginning. This is an elevation if you were standing with your back at Symphony Hall and standing on the Arts Walk looking at the property. So if you're walking down the Arts Walk, there's again a below grade parking, one grade of parking at one level of parking at grade, and then the residential is basically from floors 2 through 4. But in the middle of the building, open down to the Arts Walk, will be this really neat courtyard. And there'll be a waterfall feature off of the courtyard that will spill onto the Arts Park effectively. And we think it's going to really kind of tie the building to the Arts Walk, create some activity along the Arts Walk, and kind of break up that facade, because that's certainly something we're all concerned about, is what does this thing look like at the street level. Again, if we want something to be pedestrian friendly, it's got to feel and look good. One neat thing about this in particular, we've been getting a lot of demand for larger apartments, And so this building will have well over half of the apartments will be 2 bedrooms. There's 12 loft apartments that will be on the top floor, and with the loft going up to the roof area, and then there'll be basically 12 rooftop decks. So those will be larger apartments, and those will be, really create a very unique, amenity, a rooftop amenity, and stuff like this is happening in cities all over the place. Is how do you create, rooftop amenities? It's a very hot thing in residential design right now. Along Linden Street, and the upper floors, and Robert, maybe you want to just talk a little bit about what's going to be on the skin of the buildings and what's going to happen at the street level, because this really speaks to issues that were raised both by the Allentown Planning Commission, the Parking Authority, and obviously the Goody Clancy comments. So,
sure. Hi, Robert Lorenzo. So we got some comments back from Goody Clancy on specifically the Linden Street facade of the building. We have a giant brick wall going all across Linden Street. So we've made some revisions to that. And what City Center has done is we really looked for opportunities to incorporate some public art down here in the Arts District. So we took our, we had a big hypergraphic along the side of the wall that we've shrunk down to meet the zoning code for the 300 square foot requirement. What we're looking to do is incorporate some type of public art sculpture that can be tied into the side of the building to create some pedestrian interest as people are walking along the Linden Street facade. And then what we're also looking to do is create opportunities to kind of punch in some transparency along that lower level along Linden Street. We might incorporate some perforated metal panels that allow you to catch some glimpse of the inside. Allentown zoning doesn't allow you to show the inside of the parking garage, and that's something that we've been kind of dealing with. So we're going to work closely with zoning so that we can get permission to work with this perforated metal to incorporate this into the Linden Street facade of the building.
Robert, the Goody Clancy recommended about 40% openings.
Yes,
and that's what we're trying. That's what we're seeking to achieve. And again, that's a little bit in conflict with the zoning ordinance, but we think we can, navigate that.
Goody Clancy had also requested, as an opportunity to create that transparency to put the entrance of the garage along Linden Street. That is something that, per our planning commission meeting with city staff, the city staff had actually preferred the entrance for the parking garages to be located along 6th Street and Linden Street as currently designed. Also, putting the parking entrance along Linden Street would have a detrimental impact on reducing the number of parking spaces currently provided in the building.
And the reason for that is that the elevation of 6th Street is higher than the elevation of Law Street. And so what we've done in our parking configuration, let me just see if we have. So, 6th Street, yeah. So on 6th Street, there's going to be an entrance at grade level, at 6th Street in the same place it is now. And there's basically a shelf of parking. So in other words, you can't get to there's no ramp to go to the lower level of parking. You come in, you come out, and it's one shelf of parking. And then likewise on Law Street, because there's the lower elevation, you will enter Law Street from the alley, and again, one shelf of parking. If we were to put an entrance on Linden Street, we would have to ramp the parking, and by ramping the parking, we lose about a third of the total 100 spaces. So we lose like 35 spaces. And besides that, I think frankly for the purposes of the arts organizations that use it, there was a strong interest in keeping those entrances, for Symphony Hall and the Community Music School on 6th Street, and for the Baum School on on Law Street. It's more important for the symphony in the community music school. So for those reasons, we had to keep the entrance, and this was studied pretty extensively, and obviously in consultation with the parking authority, because it would have been like, for instance, like if we have people from for Symphony Hall to park there, for them to drop somebody off at the deck, and then to enter and to access an entrance on Linden Street would mean they'd have to drive up 6th Street, come down Turner, come back to up 5th, then take another right on Linden. This way it's much more convenient.
I noted that when you responded to the Goody Clancy study, in their response back, they acknowledged and accepted your explanation of the ramps. I think that they acknowledged your consideration.
The other bad feature of putting it on one would be parking spaces. If you have the entrance.
Right, yeah.
I think it's important to know we've actually added additional on-street parking at this.
I mean, all of this doesn't take away the parking spaces that exist on it.
No, that's what Robert said.
We actually were able to add, I think it's like 3 or 4 additional on-street parking spaces on that block.
That's right, there's an entrance now.
That's right, there's an entrance on Linden and an entrance on 6th Street.
Right.
We're also adding, I'll just comment briefly about our conversations with the users of the lot now, because it's Shannon's here from the Baum School. But basically, there's 3 significant arts organizations: the Community Music School, the Baum School, and Symphony Hall that use this lot. And so we, Tamara principally, along with some of our staff in assisting, we surveyed, their existing, parking needs and parking operation, tried to look at, how we would deal with those situations during construction and then post-construction. And basically, when we get to post-construction, we're gonna be back, as I said before, we're actually have more parking spaces than we had now. We're doing some things to add some drop-off areas in front of Symphony Hall, which is good for both Symphony Hall and the Community Music School. And we have that all summarized in some matrices, which parking matrices, which we can share with you, but basically, we looked at each organization's needs and worked with them and tried to come up with solutions to mitigate the inconvenience during the construction. And in each case, part of that mitigation would be the parking authority and/or city center providing some free parking at the transportation center. For patrons and users and so forth. And like, for instance, like with Symphony Hall, we're going to be providing valet parking during symphony shows, because they have some handicapped patrons or people that have mobility issues. So we're going to be providing valet parking. Tamara's has a whole plan that she'll be working with. And in many cases, we'll be actually providing a bunch of free parking. So if somebody's got to walk an extra half a block, hopefully we mitigate that inconvenience by making it free instead of having to pay for it, which they are now. So we went through a pretty extensive process, and I think that and Robert from our company headed that process with Tamara, and I think the arts organizations all understand that their success is critical to the success of Allentown. And so, we have specific plans in place. We will be monitoring those plans on a daily basis. If they're not working or they need to be adjusted, we'll make the appropriate adjustments, and we'll try to do that in a real-time way. And all I can tell you is that we are really, we are fully committed to making this as painless as possible for the arts organizations. And the best thing we can do in terms of making this painless is to get in and get out, get the project done. And this project will be done within 12 months. We hope expect to break ground in the middle of November, and we will be done in 12 months. I guarantee you that.
What drove your decision about the scale? Height?
Cost. Because if we go any taller than this, we get into a very significant, significantly more expensive zone building requirements. Like really, I mean, my inclination was, why don't we do 5 or 6 floors of residential? And the cost, and what you need to do by going to that, you might as well go to like 8. And then that was too much because we didn't have the parking and.
Right.
And so, because ideally, if we were able to do, they call this four floors over a podium. So this is really looked down as a 4-story building from a code standpoint, so you can still do that with wood framing and reasonable firewall separations and so forth. If you go to 5 stories over a podium, the codes change pretty dramatically. I think, Mary, did I miss anything?
Any other questions? Mary?
Yeah, I'll just add that our board is driven in large part by the Good Clancy report and its obvious need for additional residents to be downtown. And I want to make you aware that they also studied an awful lot of data that showed that the parking we can provide in this scenario will be very similar to the parking we can currently provide. It was very important, obviously, to the board that all the users, most specifically the arts folks, had accommodations and that we would be as flexible with them as we possibly could. We will continue to work through the process. We're meeting on a regular basis. There's still some during construction issues we're working through, and then we're going to get into the post-construction. What do they want the meters on the streets surrounding the arts district to look like? What length of time? Do they want more passenger pickup zones? Do they want more loading zones? Those sorts of things that we now have an opportunity sort of to shape an entire block with this project that my board has directed me to be as flexible as possible.
Are there any questions from the board?
So I just want to make one just a summary thing in terms of the structure and what's in front of the board.
Yeah, you might want to address the financial aspects.
Yeah, I just made one quick comment so you understand what we're asking for you to approve. There's an approval for the project in front of you, a resolution, I believe, for the project itself. And the financing of the apartment piece of the project, which would be owned, that condominium unit would be owned by City Center. That will all be part of the City Center's financing, which will come from a variety of NIZ funding and equity, but the debt service will largely be from the cash flow from the building, because apartments don't really generate any NIZ revenue. But then in addition to that...
Just stop there a second, JP, just to clarify. There is an existing $325 million line that JD utilizes for purposes, CCIC, City Center utilizes, for purposes of building their projects. And that's where they will draw funds from for purposes of building what is identified as the apartment portion of this project. That's separate and different from what I think he's about to say with regard to the parking component, which is a separate condominium.
And we have previously approved that $325 million.
Yeah, that's been approved and that's closed and that's in place. And so so the apartment portion of the project, if you will, would be an approved use, requesting approved use that can be funded through an existing financing facility that's been already approved. The second resolution in front of you relates to the parking authorities, the parking facility, which will be owned by the parking authority, and that will be a separate credit facility, and that's at $5.3 million provided by East Stroudsburg, ESSA. And the debt service on that is going to basically come from a pledge of City Center existing NIZ revenues up to $500,000 a year. So $500,000 a year, kind of like we've done in the arena block, where City Center has pledged annually $3.5 million to support, a portion of the arena bonds. In this case, there'll be an additional pledge of $500,000 to the benefit of that loan, that Allentown Parking Authority credit facility from the ESSA to the authority, then flows to the APA, and that'll be supported by $500,000. Our lenders will need to release that $500,000, and in our expectation, based on our conversations with them, is that's not a problem. And we think that this is actually just an interesting way to look at potentially other projects in the future too, because our partner in every single project that we have done here, besides you, besides ANIZDA, our other partner is the parking authority. Because every project that we do requires parking, whether it's existing parking, new parking, and Tamara and I talk weekly about what's happening and what our plans are, and she's always 2 steps ahead of us and thinking about planning it. So we think that this kind of structure hopefully is something that we can kind of use in the future as well.
Now, let me just ask a question. I would imagine that the parking agreement that you will have between the parking authority and yourselves will call for the fact that in exchange for that $500,000 a year, you will receive the parking for the strata.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
and what about the public parking that goes with it?
We'll manage that just like it's managed now. So there will be a certain number of monthly parkers who will have access, and there will be a certain number of transient parkers.
Where will the revenue go to?
Working for it.
Okay, so in other words, then the $500,000 will only fund your use of for strata, and the
Well, the $500,000 is NIS taxes that are currently pledged to our credit facility.